I'm 78 years old, and I'm going to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. 6 months ago, I fell in love. Deeply, completely, ridiculously in love. And my children haven't spoken to me since. They think I've lost my mind. They think I'm being manipulated. They think I'm betraying their mother, who's been gone for 11 years now. But here's what they don't understand, what nobody tells you about growing old. Your heart doesn't retire when your body does, and the loneliness, the kind that settles into your bones after decades of sleeping alone, it doesn't care about what's appropriate. My name is Eleanor. People have called me Ellie since I was a little girl running barefoot through my grandmother's garden in Vermont. I was married to my husband Richard for 47 years, good years mostly. We raised 3 children, buried one parent after another, moved 4 times, fought about money and in-laws, and whose turn it was to take out the garbage. The ordinary stuff of a long marriage. When he died in 2014, I thought that part of my life was over. Romance, attraction, that flutter in your chest when someone walks into a room. I packed all of that away with his suits and ties, donated it to some cosmic thrift store, and moved on. For 11 years, I did what widows are supposed to do. I joined a book club. I took up watercolors. I babysat my grandchildren and cooked Sunday dinners and smiled at family gatherings while everyone talked around me like I was furniture. Pleasant, useful furniture. That's what you become after 70, a fixture, something to be maintained and worried about, but not really seen. Then, last September, I met Harold. He was sitting alone at a coffee shop downtown, reading a biography of Teddy Roosevelt, and I noticed his hands first. Working hands, like Richard's. Hands that had built things and fixed things and held people. I don't know what possessed me, but I walked over and asked if the book was any good. He looked up at me with these pale blue eyes, and he smiled, and something shifted in my chest that I hadn't felt in over a decade. We talked for 3 hours that first day. He told me about his wife, gone 5 years now, about his career as a carpenter, building houses all over New England, about his 2 sons who lived far away and called on holidays. I told him about Richard, about my children, about the watercolors I was terrible at, but kept doing anyway because it filled the time. When we finally stood up to leave, he asked if I'd like to have dinner with him that Friday. I said yes before I could think about it. And that yes changed everything. Here's what nobody prepares you for about falling in love after 70. Your body remembers things your mind forgot. The way your pulse quickens when you see someone. The way food tastes better when you're eating it across from someone who makes you laugh. The way the hours between visits feel longer and emptier than they used to. I felt like a teenager again, which was terrifying and wonderful and completely absurd. By November, Harold and I were inseparable. He came to my house for dinner 3 times a week. We took walks in the park near my neighborhood, slow walks with his bad hip and my bad knee, stopping on benches to rest and talk and just sit together in comfortable silence. He fixed my leaky kitchen faucet without being asked. I brought him homemade soup when he had a cold. Small things, the small things that build a life. I made the mistake of telling my daughter Susan in December. I thought she'd be happy for me. I thought she'd see that her mother, who'd been going through the motions for years, had finally come back to life. Instead, she stared at me like I'd announced I was joining a cult. "You're doing what?" she said. Her voice was flat, careful, the way you talk to someone who's become unhinged. "I'm seeing someone," I repeated. "His name is Harold. He's a wonderful man." The silence stretched so long, I thought the call had dropped. Then she said, "Mom, it's been barely 10 years since Dad died." 11 years, I corrected her. 11 years, Susan. She didn't hear me. She was already talking about how I needed to be careful, how there are men who prey on vulnerable older women, how I should have my finances protected, how we should meet this Harold person and make sure he was legitimate. She said legitimate, like I was a business transaction, like I was too old or too foolish to recognize a good man when I found one. And that's when I understood something that broke my heart a little. My children didn't want me to fall in love again, not because they were worried about me, but because they were worried about themselves. Let me be honest with you now, whoever you are, listening to an old woman talk about romance like it still matters. When your parent falls in love after losing their spouse, something shifts in the family story. Suddenly the narrative isn't finished. The chapter that was supposed to end with faithful devotion to a memory, with graceful decline, with quiet gratitude for what was, that chapter gets ripped up and rewritten. And children, even grown children with mortgages and gray hair of their own, they don't like that. They've already mourned their parents' marriage. They've already decided what the rest of your life looks like. And it doesn't include new love. It doesn't include passion or partnership or someone else sitting in their father's chair at Thanksgiving. My son Michael called a week after Susan, more diplomatic, but the same message underneath. He asked careful questions about Harold's finances, his family, his intentions. He suggested maybe I was just lonely, that I should consider getting a dog instead. A dog. Like companionship could be substituted like a prescription. Like Harold was just loneliness with a pulse, interchangeable with a golden retriever. I told Michael something that day that I'll tell you now. Loneliness and love are not the same thing. I was lonely for 11 years, and I managed it. I filled my days and distracted myself, and learned to sleep in the center of the bed. But what I have with Harold isn't about filling empty hours. It's about wanting to share the full ones. It's about having someone who sees me, really sees me, not as a widow, not as a grandmother, not as a woman of a certain age who should be content with her memories. He sees Eleanor, just Eleanor. And that's something I didn't know I needed until I had it again. Here's what I've learned about families and love and growing old. Your children will love you, but they will also want you to stay fixed in place. They want the mother or father they've always known, the one whose story fits neatly into their understanding of the world. When you change, when you grow, when you fall in love at 78 and your whole face lights up in a way it hasn't in years, it frightens them. Because if you can change, then everything can change, and that's scary. My children haven't met Harold yet. Susan refuses. Michael keeps postponing. My youngest, David, the one who lives across the country and calls once a month, he just said, "Be careful, Mom," and changed the subject. They've formed a united front of disapproval without ever meeting the man who makes me happy. But here's what I want you to understand, and this is important. Their discomfort is not my responsibility to fix. I spent decades putting my family first, raising children, supporting a husband, showing up for everyone else's milestones and crises and ordinary Tuesdays. I don't regret any of that, but I'm 78 years old. The actuarial tables give me maybe another 10 years, if I'm lucky, probably less. And I have decided, after careful consideration, that I am not going to spend whatever time I have left being appropriate. Harold and I went to a concert last month, a small venue downtown, a jazz quartet. We held hands in the dark while the saxophone player worked through a melody that made my chest ache. And I thought about all the concerts I didn't go to after Richard died, because it felt wrong to enjoy music without him. All the dinners I ate alone, because I didn't want to be the sad widow at the restaurant. All the life I put on hold, because I was waiting for permission from people who were never going to give it. Love after 70 is not a betrayal. It is not a second act that diminishes the first. It is not disrespect for the dead or confusion in the living. It is simply this, a recognition that your heart is still beating, that your capacity for connection didn't die with your spouse, that life keeps offering you chances to feel alive, and you can either take them or let them pass. My children may come around, they may not. Harold and I talk about it sometimes, this wall between me and the family I built. He understands. His own sons have been distant about me too. We're two old people in love, surrounded by adult children who think they know better, and we've decided to stop waiting for their blessing. If you're watching this and you're older, and you found someone, or you're thinking about opening yourself to the possibility, I want you to hear me clearly. You are allowed. You are allowed to fall in love at 70 or 80 or 90. You are allowed to hold hands and steal kisses and feel your heart race. You are allowed to want companionship that isn't a dog or a book club or Sunday dinners where you smile and nod and feel invisible. And if your family doesn't understand, if they make you feel like you're being foolish or reckless or disloyal, that says something about their fears, not yours. I'm going to tell you what I told my daughter the last time she called to lecture me. I said, "Susan, I love you. I will always love you. But I loved your father for 47 years, and now he's gone. And Harold makes me happy in a way I didn't think I'd ever be happy again. You don't have to like it, but you don't get to take it from me." She hung up. We haven't spoken since, and I'm still happy. Tell me your story in the comments. I read every single one of them. There are so many of us out there, loving again, being judged for it, choosing ourselves anyway. I want to hear about your second chances, your unexpected loves, your families who came around or didn't. It makes me feel less alone to know I'm not the only one. If this meant something to you, subscribe. Do it for the person you'll be in 20 years, the one who might need permission to start living again. And if you know someone who's struggling with this, someone who's fallen in love and feeling guilty, or someone who's too scared to let themselves try, share this with them before it's too late, before they decide that appropriate matters more than alive. I'll leave you with this. I'm 78 years old. I've buried a husband and lost friends, and watched my body slow down in ways I never expected. But last Tuesday, Harold showed up at my door with flowers he picked from his garden, and my heart did that thing, that flutter, that impossible teenage flutter. And I thought, this is it. This is why I'm still here. Don't let anyone tell you it's too late. It's not. It's never too late to feel alive.